Hello, my name is Infinity, and today I'm going to be making a medieval style barn using kind of the same block palette as my other two builds that I did before, just because obviously these did really well, so I thought why not try and make a different build but with the same kind of theme with the medieval style. So you can see here, as I always do, I make the frame. Accidentally made an backwards high, but that's already covered up now because I've got the other bits of frame instead. You can see I'm kind of connecting all the posts back up, and that's what I always do at the start of my build. It just kind of gives me the vision of where the build's going and what's kind of going to be where, and it helps add a roof and stuff as well. So you can see I'm kind of filling in the walls as well here, as always. And I decide to start with the roof, just so I can get that done and out of the way, and then I can focus on the rest of the build instead. So I got this wrong a couple of times, I had to go over this again and again, but I got it right eventually. So you can see I'm kind of using the slab method where it kind of goes up a slab each time, which looks quite nice. It's kind of like a good way to kind of gradually go up. Looks quite nice on this corner here. Using the kind of organised, messy look on the top of the roof as well, kind of adds a bit more detail and just instead of flat slabs, which I thought looked quite nice. Also helps because where the brick is at the top of the wall, it actually kind of pokes through the roof a bit, so if you have kind of these slabs on top, it kind of hides it away, which is quite helpful. So you can see on the bottom bit where the slabs go up by one on each side by the stone, that's kind of to hide the bricks and also to kind of add to the messy style of the roof. So I've done the big bit of roof here, and I start to add the stone here because I completely forgot about that. Got the brick on the back here as well, but that's kind of going to be forgotten because it's the back and I don't really like the back of builds, so that's just how it is. We do the other side as well here, and jumping onto the inside, I've got to do this bit of wall here, so just quickly patching that up. Finishing the other side of the roof here, and I'm going to add the barn doors because every barn needs some doors, and they're usually quite big and bulky. So I've used trapdoors here, and actually I put a trapdoor on the other block facing the other way, just so it kind of adds a bit more depth rather than just one big flat side. So I start to do the detailing here as well. I used gradient like on my previous house that I made, using the kind of the tough, the cobble with stone kind of look. And then I actually used some concrete powder right at the top just because it's a really pale grey kind of colour. And I actually forgot to put this bit of wall in, which makes the doors look a little bit smaller and less kind of imposing. And also it just adds to the walls, makes it look a little bit more complete, I think. So I did the bit of detailing on the top of the brick as well, and I'm going to do the same on the other side with the walls and the tuff. So that's why I started with the tuff at the bottom layer and then added the stone, because obviously the tuff's going to always be at the bottom and the stone's kind of going to be in the middle, so it's just something I can put all the way in. And makes it a bit easier when I'm starting out, so I don't have to replace it all again. And I started to do some frame detailing. I've done this on a lot of builds, including my 101 view in improving the villager house. So thank you very much for that, everybody. Really do appreciate that. So yeah, I'm kind of using the same style as I did with that on this kind of build here. So I think it'd look quite nice with the medieval kind of theme, and it just kind of adds a bit more detail, you know, like instead of just these flat frames, it's kind of got a bit more shape to it. So I'm adding the doors on this side too. You can see where I've actually managed to suspend the gravel into the air. I actually use string to do this just because it's a block, so it actually holds it up, but it's really hard to see. So if you're in survival, you could have these kind of like fence gates in the front of the doors just so nothing gets in, but because I'm in creative mode, I decided to use barriers instead, just because it's invisible and you can't see it. It looks a bit nicer. So you can actually see it's really difficult to kind of have a circular pen with fences, because obviously they have to be straight to connect to each other, so having a circle shape is really difficult. So I've actually used some oak logs here to kind of help with the curvature, because also it looks a nicer kind of look than just fences, which is a bit plain. So it kind of adds a bit more texture, and if you have any flat sides as well, you can have a fence gate just for another entry point. And I used some buttons and fences on the top just for a bit more detail again. And I start to add some paths because one of the really overlooked parts of building is kind of surrounding the surrounding areas with like detail and stuff, because if you just have like a one build and plonk it in on any old place, it doesn't always look like connected to the environment. Like you could just have this one build, it'd still do the same job as a barn, but if you don't kind of like connect it to the surroundings, it doesn't look as good. So it's a really simple step that is usually missed. Obviously you could just keep this path, it looks pretty nice as it is, but I chose to use packed mud and coarse dirt as well. So I'm kind of spreading this over the pen as well, it makes it look like the animals have trampled on the grass a lot and it's kind of like died out or something like that. Obviously if you're in survival mode, you kind of have to keep some grass so that like sheep can eat it and get their fur back and stuff, but obviously I'm in creative mode, it doesn't really matter a lot. And actually you can see this build is pretty plain, so I've actually decided to add some leaves and stuff, just to add a bit more life to the build, because it kind of looks a bit plain without it, kind of gives it a pop of colour, which is quite nice. So I've used some moss and some azalea bushes to kind of do that job, and adding a couple of staircases in the wall make it look a bit more beaten up and like there's a couple of holes in it. Same on this side with the leaves and the azaleas, it just kind of adds a bit more colour and a bit more detail, something more to look at and a bit more colour. Same with the hay bales actually, like obviously a pen needs hay bales because like, you know, the animals need to eat something, and it's also a nice pop of colour and it kind of suits the brown colour. So I got the animals in here now, they're a bit crazy at super speed, so I had to kind of lure them away from each other with some wheat there. And I actually forgot to do the detailing of the back walls and the other side walls, so I went on the inside to do this. Obviously this is the back of the build, it's not really looked at very much, I only did a bit of basic detailing with the tuff and the cobblestone, which still looks quite nice, but it's quite plain. And that is pretty much the end of the video. Here's a quick 360 degree view of it all. Looks quite nice, doesn't it? But all I really have to say left is thanks for watching. If you did enjoy this video, a like would be really appreciated. And if you want me to build any builds, I always look at the comment section, so drop a comment and I'll probably reply. But that's all I really have to say, so thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.